The Democratic Party has been excellent at reaching every demographic except this one group, so much so that they're willing to spend an exorbitant amount of money to try to figure it out. But you already had the answer. So in a few days, it will be June 2025. The 2024 election is long gone, and of course, we know who won. And there are many, many people in the Democratic Party that are still very, very salty about the outcome. Now, there were demographics that typically vote Democrat, of course. There were some of the liberals. There were women, especially black women that, of course, won the election the last time for Joe Biden.
The African-American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
And the rainbow community and a host of others. There were some immigrants that voted because they didn't want to, get the boot from America. And so all these groups wanted to throw their hat in for Kamala Harris so they could be saved and they can get all the things that they got with Joe Biden, handouts, free stay in America, and all these other kind of things, right? More handouts, more handouts, more handouts, more legs up. But this one group that they refused to reach out to, that they refused to say, you know what, let's hear what you have to say. What do you want? They refused to listen to this group. And of course, that group is men.
Bitch, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
And because of that, you know who is in office right now, because he, in my opinion, is keeping campaign promises that he made during the campaign. Now, some people might not like how he's fulfilling those promises, but nevertheless, he's putting his foot forward to get the jobs done. All right. And of course, now there is a cover, or not a cover, but there is a debacle going on about, Biden's cognitive decline and things of that nature. That's another subject for another video.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
But as you can see here, like I said in my intro, they lost the male demographic in the Democratic Party, so much so that they're willing to spend this much money on a study to try to figure it out. But I will give you the answer here later on in the video. But you can see here from the New York Post, Democrats don't need to spend $20 million to study why men abandon the party. Just stop trashing them. You know what? What else do I have to say? The video's over. No, for real. Anyway, stop bashing them. It's real simple. Everybody catered to the rainbow community. They catered to black women. They catered to the people that's come across the border to make sure they get to stay and get the benefits and everything like that. But again, you didn't want to appeal to probably the biggest voter base in America, which is men of all races, because men of all races voted for 47 now because you weren't listening to them. You said that because you wanted to vote for him, instead of listening to why, you said, oh, it must be racism, it must be misogyny, it must be all these other things, except, well, why are you voting for him? What do you want? Let's try to get these things. Let's try to help you get these things done in the community, the immigration, the economy, XYZ. You didn't listen to us. And now you have egg on your face, and it's going to be there for a long time. So let's read the article. Democrats can't figure out why they're hemorrhaging young male voters. And party leaders are so baffled that they've thrown $20 million towards studying their predicament. I'll give them the punchline for free. It's all the male bashing.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
Progressives wage war on toxic masculinity, insisting that we should believe all women and claiming that red meat is a right-wing thing. Is it any wonder men have said no thanks? Despite the obvious, the Democratic Party has reportedly poured 8 figures into an effort dubbed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, probing men as though they are some alien species. You see it. Like we're some kind of foreign entity to the United States of America. Like it's hard to figure out what men want. It is not. Most men in America, I would argue, probably somewhere conservative, depending on what issue you're talking about. Immigration, economy, taxes, things of that nature. You know, most men are live and let live, but we need these things to be comfortable, to make sure the country runs safe, to make sure my family is straight, to make sure I'm straight, make sure my kids will be taken care of and have a future. But no, you ignored them. You actually pour more attention into people coming across the border. You pour more attention into women. You pour more attention into race issues and the stuff that actually matters to America. You ignore it. Oh, by the way, look at this man sitting in front of you right here. The male examples of masculinity in the Democratic Party are so weak. You put in front of us to go along with Kamala Harris, you put Tim Walz, the most weakest jellyback man you could have put in front of any man.
Bitch, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
You have Gavin Newsom. You have people like David Hogg. You have Don Lemon. You have all these other guys. What's that guy from MSNBC, his wife? You have these kind of guys.
I don't know if people know this or not. Biden used to be a hothead.
That are supposed to be leading us. And they're either very liberal or leaning to the Democratic Party, or, I mean, come on. So now you need to study us. No other group. No, not women or, any kind of race thing. No, you need to study men. I mean, the joke just writes itself, doesn't it? If you've made it this far in the video and you're still here, thank you again for your viewership. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell, that way you can be notified whenever I go live or drop new content. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, please do so by hitting the Cash App $ Mr. Normie. And you can also go to my Ko-Fi page, ko-fi.com/workingmanmg. Also, I'm trying to build a community on Locals. So if you would, go please check out my Locals page and you can join for just $5 a month. You can post and we can build a community of like-minded working men over there. Thank you for your time. Now back to the video. The report, according to the New York Times, promises to study the syntax, language, and context that gains attention and virality in young male spaces. Sounds like a lot of gobbledygook. Yes, it does. Dems like California Governor Gavin Newsom and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear reportedly discussed how to reach the average American man at the Future Forward PAC conference held at the Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay, California. What they could have done instead is listen to the other people in their own party. Look at this guy, David Hogg. What I just say? This guy. I mean, when the DNC Vice Chair David Hogg had the gall to say the Democrats should pay more attention to young men, good advice from a real life 25-year-old male, party leaders reacted by calling for an election to void his position, allegedly in political retribution. Yes, they essentially kicked David Hogg out. He was, I believe, said to be the leader of the Democratic convention, the DNC. And yeah, they gave him the boot because, I mean, yes, he was engaging in restructuring, if you will, which some people say the destruction of the Democratic Party, but he was trying to give some common sense to the whole deal, and y'all got rid of him for it. Appearing on Real Time with Bill Maher on May 9th, Hogg lamented that his party was leaving young men behind. Well, yes, they are. Quote, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who they don't completely agree with, but who they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, but they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. Well, that sounds like women.
Bitch, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
Bingo. Another guy, Joe Rogan. Do you know, most of you know, right, that of course 45, not 47, went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan was actually trying to get Kamala Harris on there, but for some reason, scheduling issues, I guess, she decided not to do it. And you know what she did? She went on Call Her Daddy podcast. She went on other female-centered podcasts, these those kind of podcasts, right? Or she would be on the campaign trail and she had Megan Thee Stallion on there. She had all these other, twerking women on there that were entertaining but didn't have any real substance that, you could have a conversation with to get some type of campaign promise or some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Some type of, what does she stand for? We don't know. And all of her interviews were all scripted. They're all timed. They're all pre-written with questions. You see what I mean? Nobody knew what Kamala Harris actually stood on. And credit to her, she only had a little bit of time to make this run. But the DNC failed her. And to a lesser degree, she failed herself. When former Bernie Sanders supporter and ultimate bro whisperer Joe Rogan invited Kamala Harris onto his podcast, here we go, during the last election cycle, even entering into negotiations about discussion topics, the candidate turned him down, leaving 47 with a slam dunk. Harris's clear message: screw you men, we really don't care. Yes, she didn't care. The result: Trump won voters under 26, white men, black men, and 18-year-old non-white men, while his support among young men overall swelled from 49% in 2020 to 55% in 2024. Sure, the Dems' Sam report isn't wrong. It suggests that advertising more in video games and shifting language away from moralizing tone towards men is all true, but it's also too little too late. Also, here's the other thing I would like to add to that. What you're also doing is you are stereotyping men to video games. All right. I mean, contrary to popular demand, yes, while we like video games, we might like fast cars and, booze and things of that nature. We also are family men. We also are career-driven men. We also have responsibilities. So also the way you're trying to reach men also is condescending and stereotypical as fuck.
Bitch, ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
I'm sorry, y'all. I got to say, it's got to be said. It's got to be said. This, after all, the party that insisted Doug Emhoff reshaped the perception of masculinity. Yes, the husband on the campaign trail. Meanwhile, progressive ideology pushed by the Dems has told young men they are intrinsically toxic and their concerns aren't a priority. Yes, Doug Emhoff, the guy that wears the skirt in the freaking relationship, said that he was reshaping the perception of masculinity. I mean, give me a freaking break, right? As one ex-user aptly pointed out, mainstream media headlines have even gone as far as to malign workouts, red meat, and hot girls as right-wing. No. You know what it is? It means that I like to eat meat because it tastes good. I like workouts because I want to be healthy. And I like hot girls because I'm not a part of the rainbow community.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
You don't necessarily have to go as far as Hulk Hogan ripping apart your own t-shirt to reveal a t-shirt 2024 tank top underneath has happened at the Republican National Convention, but that sent a message that masculinity isn't shamed around here. Trump Vance 2024. Yes, that was a shirt he was wearing. Sorry if I'm making some concessions for language here and some I'm not, because YouTube censorship and guidelines, those things. So you must understand that in advance, okay? But you get the point here, right? And to end this off, the progressive left sometimes thinks or talks about masculinity in this kind of toxic way, which I think creates an opportunity for the right to actually say, no, masculinity is a good thing.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
Richard Reeves, president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, told the Post, one of the markers of being on the right now is to actually be unapologetic about being a guy and being masculine and not having to apologize for mansplaining and toxic masculinity and manspreading and all of that. Seems like a pretty obvious message, and one that doesn't cost $20 million freaking dollars. Y'all get the point here, right? The Democratic Party, in my opinion, with this study, is still slapping us in the face. It's still, to me, in my opinion, a complete insult that you need $20 million to understand men. You know, it seems like on one hand, we're so basic and so primitive and Neanderthalish, right? But then you need $20 million to figure out what we want what we desire, some of our actual genuine concerns. To me, this is a slap in the face to all men still of the Democratic Party that you need to spend this much money just to figure out what men actually want. When we told you all through the election cycle, we told you all 4 years Biden was in office. And now all you can do now is talk about Trump for another 4 years until 12 years now, because you talked about him before the election, during his presidency the first time, the 4 years he was gone while Joe Biden was in office, and now you're going to talk about him again, which means we got another 4 more years, up to 12 years and past that, for talking about this man.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
When all you had to do was just listen to the men. There's a reason why his support is still where it's at, while other people on the blue side, the Democratic side, are still bashing him. His support is still high. You know why? Because you might not like how he's getting the promises done, but he's still getting the promises done, and he's still listening to men today. Remember that, Dems. Remember that if you're watching me and you're a Democrat, remember that. They're not listening to us. And that's why this guy won, and that's why even when he leaves office, he will still probably be a staple in the Republican Party, and he will shape it for years to come. Because not you personally, but the Democrats, it's y'all fault. And with that being said, thank you for attending another episode of the Working Man Podcast. I am your host, Nicholas J. Fury. Let me know what you think down in the comment section about this study to figure out what we want, to figure out how they can try to reel us back into the plantation. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. And please, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. We're out of the door. And remember, all you Democrats, reality checks are free. See you next time.